Thank you for watching us on YouTube. But did you know that if you're on the go, you can get the full show as a podcast now? You can get our morning breakdown of the most important topics facing our country, news not being covered by the mainstream media, interviews with change-making progressives, and info on what you can actually do about all this. Search for The Damage Report on your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you know when new episodes are ready to go. So look, more details have been coming out over the past 48 hours or so about the disappearance of Jamal Khashoggi. That's the Saudi-born but US living journalist and columnist for the Washington Post. So the Turkish government, which has been fairly certain for like 2 days now that a team that was dispatched from Saudi Arabia to the Saudi consulate in Istanbul did kill Jamal. They now say, by the way, that they have audio and video recordings that prove it. The recordings show that a Saudi security team detained him in the consulate after he walked in on October 2nd, then killed him and dismembered his body. One of the officials said, you can hear his voice and the voices of men speaking Arabic. You can hear how he was interrogated, tortured, and then murdered. Now, we do not have any assurance yet that the US or anyone from the US has seen these recordings yet. And Turkey seems unwilling to release them because they are worried that it would compromise their techniques for spying on not just the Saudis inside Istanbul, but other diplomats as well. I can understand why they would want to hide that, although they've made it pretty much clear to all the governments that they're probably being spied on right now.
Yes, you're being spied on in that consulate. But I mean, this is just a shocking, intense, terrible story about a guy who on a personal level was going in to pick up his marriage license.
Yeah.
And people followed him in. I mean, it looks like the Turks are pretty certain that this guy was murdered, and they're like, don't just take our word for it. We have audio, we have video. And I did see reports that certain US officials were shown it, but that was more like folks speaking on condition of anonymity, tell the Washington Post.
Yeah, so look, at some point they're going to have to reveal the specific information, or someone outside of the Turkish government is gonna have to confirm that they have seen it, and it's definitely the case. Because right now, some people who are in a position to actually provide some sort of consequences for what it appears that MBS and the Saudi government have done, they're sort of hiding behind the fact that it's not guaranteed yet. So Donald Trump has said a few things. I want to read a few of his comments. He said, we're looking at it very strongly. We'll be having a report out soon. We're working with Turkey. We're working with Saudi Arabia. What happened is a terrible thing. Assuming that happened, I mean, maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised, but somehow I tend to doubt it.
This is a guy he has no idea what he's talking about at this point.
I think he doesn't remember 2 sentences in what the question was ever.
No, I think what he's thinking is, well, I've spent a lot of time with the Saudis, and I only think in terms of dollars and cents, and it seems like a good thing that we're making a lot of money off these military deals, off these arms deals that we're doing with the Saudis.
Yeah.
In his appearance, in that same appearance, I assume it was that same appearance, he mentioned multiple times the total amount of money that we are making in arms deals with the Saudis. And this is a more tangible case of what people were warning Trump against when he got all buddy-buddy with the Saudis, which was like, listen, they do terrible things. And this is the moment where you're going to, at some point, I think inevitably, people are going to hear the sounds of this man, a permanent US resident, to answer the Trump question of to where this guy lives.
Yeah, I'm gonna read one of those questions.
Yeah, he's a permanent resident. They killed him.
Yeah.
They beat him to death, tortured him, and killed him.
Yeah.
So now you're gonna have, it's easy to face like, oh, Yemen, they're bombing a lot of children with our things. Yeah, but you don't see the children, you don't know the children. It's just like Yemen is FUBAR. But in this situation,
you're saying that's the popular perception, or what many people will say.
Yemen's terrible. That's as much as people are willing to invest in terms of knowing about it, but they don't know the different sides. They don't know our partnership with the Saudis and how that works. But this is American resident murdered at hands of Saudis. Here's the roll tape.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, so we obviously, one of the things we're pointing out is that we're providing a gigantic amount of weaponry to this country. And so should they get it or should they not get it? But when you think about the particulars of what we're talking about, should you give more weapons to a regime led by a man who will try to kidnap and kill a journalist? Let alone the bombing of kids in Yemen and the horrible campaign there. I would say that we should be really sure before we provide more weapons. We shouldn't only have a Kavanaugh level of certainty as the Republicans wanted.
Yeah, I'm more of writing has been on the wall in this situation. This is
We know what they'll do with the weapons.
we know what they do with because what they've done with the weapons, but also we know that Trump's major foreign policy approach is one of America first. I don't care if people on other parts of the world are doing terrible things that run counter to the value system of America, and that was a large voting driver of people who'd seen us get into a lot of wars on foreign soil, and it's just going to be harder, and it should be harder for him to continue to do these things. He will put. They need to find who's responsible and put sanctions at the very least on those individuals who took part in it.
But we know what he thinks of most dictators. He doesn't generally see. He's in love with the leadership of North Korea, despite the killing uncles with mortars and dogs and things. And so if you're thinking perhaps Trump will take this seriously. As you alluded to, he also said this, it's in Turkey and it's not a citizen as I understand it. But a thing like that shouldn't happen. Again, this took place in Turkey, and to the best of our knowledge, Khashoggi is not a US citizen, is that right? So he looks to be attempting to get an out. I don't have to care because it's not a US citizen, even though it's a permanent resident who works for a US corporation, member of the media, but we know he doesn't care about people who come from other countries. He certainly doesn't care about the media, they're the enemy of the people. So anyway, that's certainly concerning. Other senators have been a little bit more willing to criticize Saudi Arabia. And look, if they took it seriously and were willing to go against Donald Trump, they could provide some sort of consequences.
What do you think the consequences are going to be?
Nothing.
Right.
I think there will be absolutely nothing.
I think there will be certain senators who put specific sanctions on people who are tangentially involved with this and not let them come to America for months.
Yeah.
And that'll be it.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.